Hello everybody, this is Simon with Let's Play Sonic Unleashed. Last time, Chip leveled up in badass and constructed an awesome stone golem from all of the temples where we deposited the Chaos Emeralds in. Now, I'm sure that we are all excited to see what this baby can do. I bet it's going to be absolutely awesome. Sadly, however, it's actually going to be a Sonic final boss, and Sonic final bosses as a rule suck ass, and this one here is absolutely no different. I don't like this at all, and this is going to be sadly a very negative coda on the entire game. Immediately we have to learn a completely different gameplay style that doesn't fit in with the rest of the game. At the very least the boost button is the same, and then we slowly move to the side. No, we can't push the shoulder buttons to sidestep here. This is the max speed that the golem travels from side to side. Isn't it great? As we slowly approach, we can figure out, okay, see, there is a legend. If we guard with LB, oh, that's the same as the Werehog. At the very least, we can maybe avoid getting hit by some of the rocks. Oh, that was close, but it's fine. And that's something that we probably should do in this instance, as Dark Gaia is charging up his laser, because if we don't guard here, we will eat shit severely. We still take a bunch of damage. This is something which I didn't even know. I looked up videos after recording this one and realized then, oh, while you're guarding, you can actually move out of the way. You do have free left and right movement, it's just slower, which, you know, I didn't know that. It's not like the game told me. Unfortunately, before I get a rock right in the face, we have reached Dark Gaia and can now actually punch it in the face. Will we use the shoulder buttons for that, as was indicated by the legend? No, we are actually going to use this QuickTime events. Yay! I love QuickTime events so much. It makes the fight feel so dynamic, like I'm really there. And yes, so far now we are only push the same buttons, and then once we do that, we activate a cutscene. And of course, because this is a bad fight, we are not nearly done. However, we do have one segment in here which I really like on principle, if not, as we're going to see, in execution. Now, Chip is actually holding Dark Gaia in place, and Sonic himself can do something after this introductory cutscene, which I hope you don't mind me talking over. And as it looks like, we are actually having some normal platforming gameplay in here. Daytime Sonic's last outing, and in principle, as I said, this is an absolutely brilliant idea, because too many final bosses in platforming games, oh, wrong way, oh, whew, managed to fix it, have the issue of giving you a completely different gameplay style without any explanation, with you having to tediously figure out something was, oh, that looks terrible, eye trauma, something that was very underbaked. And what we are doing here now is getting a glimpse of how the fight could otherwise go. Just let me play Sonic. It's fine. It's also still very climactic. It's a very short level, of course. But there are ramps, there are obstacles, there is a huge amount of danger. There was a time limit, by the way, just, you know, saying. It wasn't too difficult. I could do it though, and then a final climactic QuickTime event into severe eye trauma to really push home that yes, we are fighting this final boss tooth and nail. That's fine, but then of course we have to redo this, and it's not the only time we have to redo this, and come on, this clearly did not hit me. My left shoulder seems to have a far lesser hitbox than the right one for some reason, obviously. And there's 5 now. Okay, so let's punch them, and oh, you have to release the punch a lot earlier. Great stuff, because obviously, right, this is something that you can know just by looking at this. No, in fact, everything you do in this golem is extremely awkward, is extremely slow, is very, very delayed. Like, you need at least 2 seconds or so for the punch to do something, but then it does come out surprisingly quickly, which is why I got here. The same goes for the guard, by the way. I didn't encounter this problem here, but you are going to see that later. If you press the guard button and first of all, don't hold it down, and second of all, if the animation to put up the arms of the golem hasn't finished, he takes full damage from the rocks, which is just great stuff. It's absolutely amazing. I do like that the quick time events seem to correspond button-wise to what you're doing, like this very, very long delayed haymaker always seems to come from the Y button, but that's not nearly enough to make me call this anything but awkward, tedious, slow, boring, and I mean that's not even the worst part, as you're going to see. We have seen the principle of this fight now, and we are now finally actually doing some more gameplay, which is nice. This one seems rather stunted and automatic, but again, I'll take it. It doesn't have to be a ball buster, it can be just awesome, and this part is. They should have just done the whole fight like this, in my opinion, like 7 short levels or 8 for each of the countries that we were in, each of the temples where we brought back the Chaos Emeralds, maybe reactivate them to then have the supersonic thing at the end. I think this would have been much, much, much better than what we got here. But no, of course we have to fly in the stupid column, which I hate, and we have now reached the 3rd phase, because of course it could only be 2, we are playing a video game here, and this is where stuff falls apart, because Dark Gaia is now throwing rocks so quickly that they just come one after another, and I destroy one rock but not the other, so I take some unnecessary damage here. There is no way I can take it all the way back to the left where the gap is, because it just flies too sluggishly, it doesn't work. Here I destroy 2 rocks at once, and they actually do give points, by the way, so if you're going for an S rank it might be useful to destroy those rocks, but you know, not right now, because in the first attempt you can't actually get an S rank. Maybe I get into this later on, but for now I'm trying to keep my health up high, but nope, there was no way for me to hit it in time. And of course a big issue here is the closer we get to Dark Gaia, the less time we actually have to prepare for anything it does. Is the rock going to be in front of my face? Yes, so I was preemptively guarding, but should I just guard again here? Yeah, probably. Should I have guarded a little bit earlier? Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten hit. But, you know, the guard takes a while to get out, and the constant barrage of rocks as you are so close to Dark Gaia is just awful. In this scene, no, you can't skip it. Takes like 10 seconds of uninterrupted Dark Gaia screaming, and this weird lingering on its face, like, come on, can I please get back to the gameplay? Let me try again. Oh god. Everything around this fight is just so aggravating. This could have been cut in half, this could have been cut in a third, this could have been cut entirely, and it would not have made a single difference in my enjoyment of the game, except increase it for sure. Like, this isn't fun at all, and this is the biggest problem that I always have with any game. I would even say that this might be worse than the Sonic 06 final boss, which is a devastating statement to give. But of course, this is not the end in general. Here I almost get hit by the laser, but as I'm close enough now to the charge up, I make it, because otherwise I would have just died, not knowing that you can move out of the way. So let's do the quick time event one final time. B button here, a bit of a surprise, but fortunately I do it, and we have this uppercut move here, and an A button, and oh, I didn't hit the A button. Ah, that's terrible, but fortunately we have one extra button. Oh, and it is an RB. I hit the RB, and oh, that was too late actually, because you cannot allow yourself to fail a single input in this final sequence. No, don't worry though, you're not dead. You're just very obviously not going to make it back, because even if you know how to dodge the laser, this means you have to do all the stones extremely perfectly with the timing of the attack. I didn't even do that here. I did do it here, but this one here, nope, absolutely no way to move out of the way in time, and as I said, the laser would have finished me without my knowledge of anyway. So let's try this again from the start. I get hit because, again, the attacking timing is really annoying to get correctly, but I need to do it at some point, right, so that I don't take too much damage. But overall, this is still very sloppy. I managed to do it once, later on, another time, I know that. I do tank the full laser with the guard, of course, otherwise I would just die immediately. If you don't know this, great. Yeah, once again, stuff where you can easily lose 3 or 4 lives, trying to figure out how to even deal with the laser. I can't move away in time, I need to guard it. So does this mean mandatory damage? Yes. Is mandatory damage stupid? Yes, of course. You wouldn't think they designed it like this, right? The very first time I played this, I died a bunch to the laser, just not knowing that you have to block it. It's stupid. Here as well, I am again so close that I can't block in time, so I need to hit this punch. Unfortunately, I do 2 of them at once, and now I cannot tank the laser even by moving away, and I have to once again just book it and hope that I get close enough. But depth perception is a huge issue in this fight as well. Like, how close are you actually? How close are you to the rocks that it will spawn? It's just a complete mess. Like, you won't find me praise a single thing about this. It's not even that cool. Like, the location is, I guess. But every sense of, oh, this is awesome, is immediately undermined by how sluggish the golem moves. And then finally, yes, we do the RB attack here. Nice trick, haha. It's obviously always the same, so at least you can learn it. And also the rock pads are also always the same. So if you are going for an S rank here, it's not even that difficult. You can just have a map of all the rocks on the side. And then the real problem is this one here, not dying to the final gameplay part where you're playing as Light-Time Sonic. Because the sidestep doesn't work for some reason, you are probably supposed to have an unbroken boost chain here and keep collecting all these rings, vacuuming in like here, but that means you would basically have to, hey, extra life, wonder how to get it. You have to memorize basically the entire stage while you're getting pelted with these things, and I would like to draw your attention to the top left. We have 7 seconds left. This is not even the final part of the stage. So yeah, this is actually, I almost did it. You can see the ramp at the end, but nope, if you screw up the time here, run out of time, you lose a life as Chip gets completely owned and the sidestepping doesn't work, and I'm here and I almost get hit again, and I do get hit here. Whenever you somewhat consistently take this route, take the left one, then you just get owned. Great stuff. There is a shortcut here at the start, which is nice, and I guess those rings might give you some points for the S rank run. Yeah, and then you just have weird timing again as you go around the bend, and here I tried to boost, it didn't work, missed the extra life again. I know how to get it, but you can already comment on how to do it if you want to educate me in advance. That's allowed. This time I get a little bit less awkwardly up there, up the slope here at the end, slide underneath there. I'm ready to slide now occasionally, and I don't make it. Die again, great stuff. And here again, you can very easily slip off when the sidestep doesn't work for some reason, so that's great. I think it's because I'm not currently boosting already. So I'm trying to boost here and then sidestep, but I have moved to the side already, and this is how you get the extra life. By the way, you have to take the left one, and I just figured that out in time, because again, if you take a look at the top left, that was an extra life I just got. So we are constantly balancing on the teetering edge of a game over. If I don't get the extra life every time, and this can happen too, by the way, then I will game over here and have to do the entire thing again. So that's just great stuff, absolutely amazing. So again, here I know I'm going to fail now, so I am definitely going for the left, get the extra life there, and I might even have made it, but I get sniped by Dark Gaia again. It's just, this is learnable, but under the pressure of having already spent like 5 whole minutes on that awful first part, it's just not very fun. And then you think, oh yeah, there is a constant pressure of maybe even game overing, having to do the first part again. So yeah, left part here, get the extra life consistently. Do a little bounce here up on the wall that never quite works to align me with the rings. That's also quite annoying, because that of course would give me a bunch more ring energy, but that means that I have to slow down here to have some boost left for the final part, which I'm using in now, and now I have 4 seconds left to finally not fail the last quick time event, and that's it for Daytime Sonic. And as we do our final round of eye trauma, a cutscene is about to start, and I will catch you afterwards.
happening? It was broad daylight a minute ago.
Dark Gaia has regained its true power. The beast is complete. It's just as the Gaia manuscripts foretold, and the world shall be plunged into the dark of night, the dark of destruction. Oh, that it should come to this. We're doomed. The planet is lost.
That won't happen. There's no way Sonic will let it end like this.
Let's do it!
Of course, there is also a supersonic segment. Did you think that we were done? No, this wasn't even Dark Gaia's final form, because it wasn't perfect yet. So now we have to do this approach with a wounded supersonic. Our health gauge is not looking too great, but fortunately there is rings floating in these formations as we get hit by rocks, because clearly we are not superpowered enough to punch through rocks. That would be silly. And this is a visual mess. It controls badly, like most of these flying segments do. This is very reminiscent, in fact, of the Time Eater fight in Generations, which is fundamentally awful. It's horrible, and everything that reminds me of it is already suspect, but that's it. We never have to do that again if we don't fail this phase. It's extremely short, and as Chip breaks through the barrier here in one final heroic effort to make me feel things for him, I guess, we reach the final part of this, where we do use supersonic in a pretty unorthodox way, and that is on the surface of this shield, as we have to keep dodging the rocks that are now embedded in it. Boost, again, the boost works, doesn't tell you, but it is relatively intuitive, at least I hope so. And we have to boost into these tentacles and deplete each of their health bars. Gaia Colossus, so the golem's health bar, is now our time limit, which I do like. I think it's a lot more diegetic, dynamic, it makes sense with what we are seeing here. And god damn it, these tentacles just keep dodging in time. It's much better, in my opinion, than the just abstract time limit that we had in the corner of the previous stages. But now, of course, we have to destroy these tentacles in time, and I'm figuring out a tactic here slowly that is something that I strongly recommend everybody doing, and that is, if you hit one, immediately turn around and keep hitting it, because while it is up there and the turning around isn't that bad, like it's fine, you can keep hitting it, and all the others might, as we have seen, just go down and be protected by the shield at any point, and you do have to fully deplete the health bar of every single one of them. So it is a much sensible thing to actually sometimes patiently wait for one to come up and not go for one in the distance, which is something what I'm doing here right now. It's very tempting to go to one in the back, but I know it will just move away in front of my eyes again, so it is better to wait here, and it will in fact turn out well for me in the end. As you can tell, Supersonic can also die here, and there is no more way to get health back. Also, Dark Gaia keeps throwing rocks and stuff like that, and also lasers, in kind of a mirror of the abilities that it had while it was fighting the golem. So once again, art direction-wise, theme-wise, this makes a lot of sense. It is, however, not very helpful. Like, just knowing that it can do lasers and throw rocks isn't very useful for this part, because you dodge them completely differently, in that you just cannot stop ever and have to go out of the way. And maybe most of the time it's best to just ignore them. Like, clearly Dark Gaia is mostly not attacking us, it's attacking the Colossus, so the distraction works, that's fine. But yeah, overall I am fine with this part. Obviously I did it first try, it's not that big of a deal. And now Supersonic can actually reach Dark Gaia, and in kind of a mirror of how we fought Perfect Chaos in that Supersonic way, you now attack the limbs separately. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, you can count them from the cutscene, to free the Colossus. Of course, the Colossus didn't feature into the Sonic Adventure file, but you know what I mean. Just 1 limb, 2 limb, and then you can finally finish it. That's a bit similar. Though, admittedly, Perfect Chaos was a lot more dynamic, again, because you were mostly just moving along and doing something similar to a normal Sonic stage, which was much appreciated. It's almost funny how you can make these bosses well if you just do them, like normal gameplay anyway. Chip gets owned again by the laser, but now we have to do the blocking motion, basically replicating mashing, which is something that I like. I don't like mashing, but it's nice that there is a different kind of input here. I always appreciate that. That makes sense with what is happening, basically. And this was the final QTE of the game. We shoot towards Dark Gaia in almost a Bayonetta final boss-like sequence. It starts the final cutscene that will go into credits, during which I will meet you again.
Pleasant morning, wouldn't you say, Doctor? You can simply begin your plans anew. Even if all of your efforts this last time were utterly wasted, even if it was a complete and utter humiliating loss, even the most pathetic loser in all the world will surely have his chance to...
Ah, the light reigns over darkness, and the world is returned to peace. It's simply a miracle. We've been saved by a miracle.
I told you, didn't I? There was no way Sonic would let something like that happen.
And right you were. Still, we cannot live without the night. We all must sleep. We all must rest. Darkness is a part of our world, just the same as light. It may be that the darkness has not been destroyed, but merely laid to rest. It grows strong over the eons, rises up, then is put to slumber by the light. Perhaps that is the true balance of dark and light Gaia. That balance may be the very will of the planet itself.
Save the speech for later. We've got to get things ready for Sonic's coming home party!
Sonic. Sonic, you must live.
Chip? Ow! Huh?
I'll never forget you. I'll be here by you, always. A part of the earth you tread.
Hey, Sonic!
All's well that ends well, and that includes never having to hear Chip again. So firmly pushing the impression from that awful fight out of our heads, let's think about Unleashed as a whole. Considering that I immediately wanted to do this Let's Play when I heard about the PC port, and everything I have said in my 50+ videos on it, should be no surprise that I really like it. Now of course I also liked Sonic 06 in the end, but I think that is a very different story. 06 is a bad game that I think you can still have a lot of fun with, intended by the game fun at that. Unleashed is simply a good game, a great game even, admittedly, with some bad parts that you have to endure. Let's start with the werehog in the room. Yes, it's not nearly as fun as the day stages. There are also many aspects of the gameplay which I would call objectively bad. However, the question to ask is, would the game be improved if you simply cut all of it out? To answer the question, we have to take a step back. I think after losing their home on the Dreamcast, Sonic games had a crisis of confidence. The big titles Heroes, Shadow and 06 are heavily flawed because they over-rely on shaky gimmicks, don't know what scale and tone to go for, can't deliver on even meager ambition, they lack a clear vision for what Sonic should be in a more modern era. As a clear counterpoint, during this often called dark time in the series' history, a different team that had those clear visions was able to make an almost unbroken string of excellent handheld games, which knew what they wanted to be and delivered to the point where their gameplay innovations were so good that they became series mainstays, starting with this very game. And this is why Unleashed succeeds. Its designers realized that the boost from Rush is not just a gimmick, it's a full gameplay style that deserves exploration in a big title. It decides to do that with the level of confidence Sonic last had on the Genesis. They didn't just make a new gameplay engine, they also built a novel lighting system because they wanted to make the game shine, not just look fine. They called the game World Adventure, and by God did they craft that world with incredible effort put into the art design for 8 countries and their various bespoke NPCs, each of which got a unique personality and at least a small story attached to them, of course. The soundtrack is not just orchestral and bombastic, it's a bold mixture of styles as varied as the world itself. Now, it should be common knowledge by this point that when making the game, they ran into the issue of the day stages simply being too big. Sonic covers so much ground and boosting through, every centimeter of which has to be filled with life just in case you decide to stop, that they clearly could not make any more than what the game currently has. That's why the Werehog exists. So again, should they just have stopped at that point, decided the 8 main day acts and half of Eggman Land were fine? To which I retort, do you think they could have? Sonic Unleashed, in my opinion, has a very clear objective, being grand. You cannot fulfill that vision if you stop halfway. This game from its very core needs to be gigantic to the point of being overwhelming. It needs to be stuffed to the brim with content of which almost none is filler. It needs to at some point strain against limitations and fail to reach its lofty goals. And this is why, in my opinion, you can't have a Sonic Unleashed that is even close to as impressive as the one we got without a seemingly unnecessary second half, because a team that could decide enough is enough at an early stage would not be able to produce art at the level the finished product is. After this almost philosophical approach, let's talk gameplay. I don't want to reiterate too much what many reviewers have said over the years, and which I hope was clear in the videos, that these stages are fun. The Werehog stages can be fun, the game looks gorgeous, most NPCs are exceptionally well written, some people have issues with medal collecting, but I say if you don't play the side content, you're missing the point. Nothing new here. However, I'd like to stress one thing that I noticed over the course of making this LP, and I think the format of recording my first attempts has really helped me realize this and hopefully manage to get it across to the viewer. This game can be very punishing and even frustrating, but it is intensely rewarding to get better at it. Again, if you just want to cruise to the end, you are missing the point. Saying, oh, you can't see many of these obstacles coming and you have to memorize all these shortcuts is a valid critique, but missing the point. Unleashed is built not only to be grand in breadth, but also in depth. Even just getting all the medals, the S ranks, the hot dog missions will keep you busy for a long time, and doing that isn't really a tedious, grindy task. Unleashed is fun to play, and I will readily include the Werehog in that because it just gets better the more you play it too. This game has no skill ceiling. You can always improve and it will keep rewarding you. Even after 53 episodes, I'm not nearly done with it, and I will not even show off all the hot dog missions, but I will probably play those for fun off camera because this game rules. Let me finish with some constructive critique, because I want to be objective. If I were to improve this game, as I said, I would keep the Werehog, but it needs a lot of polish. Clarity of where you are in space, turning radius, grab attack activation, QTE consistency, lots of small adjustments for specific moves. Enemies throughout need to be more interesting, e.g. give you a reason to dodge or even block more, block and dodge less themselves, be more dynamic overall. On the day side, lessons from Generations should be backported into the bigger, more ambitious Unleashed stages, make it possible to really boost all the way through, nix some of the 2D as punishment sections, tighten the wall jump, get rid of the flow-breaking QTEs. The final boss of course needs serious work. I don't think it's hypocritical to say that it needs cuts. I don't consider the Werehog filler, but repeating the golem flight twice is. But apart from that, it should be good, not bad. I should get paid for this level of analysis. Finally, structurally there are some issues I kept pointing out here and there. The story often strains to railroad you and fails to give you a good reason why. The first few hours specifically need a big overhaul. This includes when and where you get movement upgrades. You can clearly tell that at some point during development a lot of stuff was shifted around here and it needs to have a lot more focus and clear vision here. And yes, I would cut the flight levels, those truly add nothing. I'm also not a huge story guy, but clearly there is a huge chunk in the middle of the game where it basically has no story. I don't think this is an oversight, I do think this is a budget and time constraint. Masuri has an intro cutscene of Eggman starting problems, Chunan has Sonic cleanse the Temple Guardian, then nothing like that happens again. In an ideal world, they could have done even more moments like that. I would skip the scenes and replays, of course, but I think adding more meat to the actual story, not the world building, that is impeccable, would improve the game just a bit more. As it's a work of art, it deserves a holistic approach, even in the parts I personally don't care too much about. One thing to note as the credits roll. Having pictures from the game's cutscenes is very common, but many of these are actually ones we've never seen before. As I said, there's bonus scenes you can get if you feed Chip specific food, but even those don't account for all the new pictures we see here. It's almost like this is a photo album of Chip's travels through the world with Sonic, and they are pretty sweet. So my idea of having more material in the middle of the game isn't even far-fetched. They already had ideas and rendered snapshots of them. But alas, no matter how much ambition you have, a game has to ship at some point. And with that, I'd like to close off my thoughts on Sonic Unleashed. I'm very happy to have been able to present all of its breadth so far, and I'm looking forward to also going a bit deeper. For now, however, I would like to thank you all for sticking with me to the end, and of course, for your kind attention.
Special friend.